Governor Greg Abbott announced an official special election set to take place this November for the 18th Congressional District seat. Yesterday, we had acting Harris County Attorney Ernie Manouse on Hello Houston. Today, we invited Amanda Edwards to join us on the show. She announced her campaign to run for the 18th Congressional District seat last month. She has run for the seat twice before, is the third time the charm. Edwards previously served as the Houston City Council member from 2016 to 2020. She's also run for the U.S. Senate and for Mayor of Houston. And she's here with us now. Amanda Edwards, good morning and welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, Amanda.
Good morning and happy Friday.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Happy Friday to you, too.
And we are also taking your calls for Miss Edwards at 713-440-8870.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you. And I'm excited to be here. What an awesome platform you've got.
Well, it's wonderful to have you with us. I guess we have to start with the very first question. Tell us why you're interested in this council seat.
You know, I believe that we are standing in a very unique moment where you've seen a lot of our rights and you know, just the very basics that we fight for. Right now it's been under attack in Washington, and I think it's time for us to send someone to Washington who can fight for what we want: economic opportunity, healthcare access, education. But beyond that, we also need someone who has some fresh energy, can bring forward some innovative solutions so that we can have an 18th congressional district in which everybody in it can thrive.
If you get this seat, it'll still be this seat is Democratic in the U.S. House.
Correct.
My question is, what we often hear is, well, we're outnumbered. We just don't quite have enough. How can you or any Democrats up there on the Hill right now be making a change, a difference, without just being trumped over, no pun intended, by Republicans?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have spent my career figuring out how to be effective in challenging environments, and this is no different. We're going to be facing unprecedented times without question, but, you know, when there are some things that I think, particularly across this city, that I think our leadership can get behind. For example, I don't know a Republican or a Democrat that likes to flood.
Right.
I don't know. You know, there's
not a party for
right,
floods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some places. Now, does that play out on TV and, you know, through interviews and through sparring? Of course not, right? There are ways to get things done in terms of both federal funding, legislative changes, and then, of course, galvanizing the community and constituency to apply the pressure points needed in order to be more effective. For example, what's happening with regard to some of the litigation that needs to come down the pipeline because of the executive orders that are being signed? Are we helping to direct people to contribute to groups like the ACLU or LDF who are waging such lawsuits? Those are things that we can be doing to engage the public in addition to our work in terms of legislation as well as federal funding. And with this district, we have so many key assets in this district. You have 2 universities. You have, in addition to that, the largest airport in our city, and downtown, in addition to all these historic neighborhoods and just rich fabric of our Houston community being here.
Is the current Congress, Senate, House, are they asleep at the switch when it comes to doing their duty right now as an equal branch of government? Is it being ineffective because we have such a powerful White House right now?
We need Congress. We need our legislative branch to be stronger and to stand up and to legislate in ways that actually support working families.
Would these be conversations you would have with fellow Republicans, and would they hear in today's environment?
Absolutely. It's imperative. We take an oath. When you are in public service, you take an oath to serve the people of your community. You don't take an oath to serve your party. You don't take an oath to only represent half of your district. You take an oath to serve everyone. And that means we've got to be responsible with the opportunities before us as well as how we address the challenges ahead. In our region, we're heading into another, storm season. And from an infrastructure investment standpoint, have we improved? Have we really pushed down the amount of resources that our county and our community really needs so that we can remain safe? These are questions that we should be having, not just with those who are of like party, but across the aisle as well. Now, where does that play out? Probably not on TV screens, right? You've got to be able to have those conversations level with people and hope that you can appeal to their interests of service in serving their constituents as well. And so there's a lot of work to be done without question. And we've got, like I said, a very dysfunctional situation happening with respect to what is coming forward from the White House. But it doesn't mean that the lights should be shut off at the legislative branch. And same thing with the judiciary. I mean, we have 3 branches of government for a reason. And I think I think people were a little bit caught off guard. You're seeing them get their footing again now. But it took a while. And I think now we've got to refocus, be strategic, have a clear vision, and then, of course, be clever in implementing that vision. It's not always going to be just the surface level normal things that you might have to go about doing to get things done.
You're listening to Hello Houston. We are right now with Congressional District 18 candidate Amanda Edwards. You can give us a call at 713-440-8870 to join the conversation. Now, Amanda, you mentioned infrastructure, but what are some of the key issues you would want to push forward to better serve District 18?
You know, I call these issues meat and potatoes issues. It's healthcare access, it's economic opportunity, it's education. And right now we're seeing unprecedented efforts to dismantle those things. For example, the Department of Ed being gutted. People say, well, what's the big deal? Government's too big. We need to reduce the size. Well, you are also reducing people's access to higher education because you're getting rid of things like Pell Grants when you get rid of the Department of Education. Right. You're also making sure that our public schools are being underfunded because the federal government does provide resources to our public schools as well. And so they're from disabilities communities to all sorts of federal funding for programs within schools. These are things that are being compromised in this political fight. When you talk about economic opportunity, you know, one of the things I was really passionate about when I was a city council member was making sure that small businesses owned by women, minorities, everybody should have the opportunity to thrive. And when there are disparities like there are here and elsewhere when it comes to accessing capital and scaling your businesses, how do we actually help our small businesses be able to thrive? They're the backbone of our communities. And so how do we actually help them? And when we saw in the example of during the pandemic and those PPP loans were getting distributed and you saw the Shake Shacks of the world get $10 million, but then mom and pop shops were shutting down, it was because we weren't getting the dollars into the hands of the entities that would loan at greater rates to them. And so doing that, I think on a federal level could be very impactful for our community. And finally, with healthcare access, we've seen one of the early executive orders that were signed were to reduce or reverse course on the prescription drug price reductions, which were a huge benefit to our senior citizen community. And so we don't want to go back to a time in which seniors are having to ration their drugs or try to figure out which one they're going to pay their bills or take their medicine. And when you reverse course on things because of political disagreements, you're really forgetting about the needs of the people. And that's what my campaign's about. And that's what I intend to do as the next Congresswoman for the 18th Congressional District.
So one of the big questions was if and when Governor Abbott was going to call for this election. And now he has said it. So why do you think, from your perspective, it was so important for him to finally and officially set that date and that election?
You know, there are 800,000 people who live in the 18th Congressional District. They deserve not only to have an advocate, they deserve to have their voices heard. They deserve to have a vote on the floor of Congress. They deserve to have someone advocating for federal funding to come down the pipeline for our district. And as I mentioned, some of the key assets, 2 universities, downtown, airport. I mean, there's so much investment that's needed, and that's a major piece of the role that you play. Part of the role that you play in Congress is being able to advocate for that funding. So having someone to be able to do those things, be that voice, be that vote, and advocate, I think is critical. And if you recall, in 2024, they also were out without a voice for a while because of Congresswoman Jackson Lee's untimely passing. Right. And so this has been going on far too long. And so having this election, I wish that it would have happened sooner. Right. But, certainly we want to protect democracy for everybody, no matter what your party.
And speaking for everybody, we have a call from Richard in Cyprus. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I am.
What's your question here?
Okay, I'm asking the Honorable Amanda Edwards what she's going to do if elected to Congress to help quell the displacement of families in that third ward area near University of Houston and Texas Southern University, and then how she will strengthen the housing programs at HUD to help do that, so that families can, have affordable housing in that area.
Okay, thank you, Richard. That's a fair question.
Fair question and timely question because Houston has an affordable housing crisis right now. Mm-hmm. And, part of the challenge that I think we face is that, Houston is so big, so robust, and people think that the possibilities are limitless. But the possibilities aren't going to be maximized if you don't have a plan. So one of the things I would like to see happen, although it's not necessarily within the direct purview of the congressional member, but it is something where we could advocate for HUD, the housing department, to get their CDBG dollars, some of those to be tied to making cities plan for a comprehensive housing plan. Houston doesn't have one right now. And so dollars get pushed down, CDBG dollars, those are dollars or direct grant dollars that are supplied to cities so that they can build housing, so that they can build economic developments in concert in support of that housing. And so with that being said, those dollars right now, they're piecemeal. Project by project by project. There's no need or requirement for a comprehensive plan. My goal would be to have a comprehensive plan that shows Houston reducing the disparities in affordable housing. And specifically in the third ward area where you see the displacement and gentrification being so rampant, one of the things also that we can be doing is making sure that there are dollars specifically allocated to what's known as CDCs. Those are community development corporations that are nonprofits whose mission it is to create and keep affordable housing available. Right now, you give dollars to private developers, and as a private developer, your motivation is profit, right? And so you're not putting the dollars in the hands of the entities that prevent more residents from being displaced when you do development.
So you're so well versed on so many subjects. Let's say you go to Washington. What are your 2 or 3 committees, passions that you would really seek to be on?
Absolutely. Well, judiciary is one. I'm an attorney. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm an attorney.
Yes.
Definitely. And then transportation. 4.2 million people are coming into our 8-county region in the next 20 years. And that's the projection. And so we need those transportation dollars. And I don't mean just in terms of, traditional transportation for residents. It's also freight and all of these, we're home to one of the busiest ports in the country.
How do you feel about high-speed rail?
I'm actually a big advocate, and I know that's controversial, but your ratings are going to go up this morning because I'm going to say controversial things. Yeah. I think
Love it.
You've got to think boldly and big when you're talking about the issue of transportation. If you look at a city like Los Angeles, and I had the opportunity when I served on the HGAC's Transportation Policy Council, I was the city appointee to that committee. We knew that was the statistic. You looked at cities like Los Angeles. They had a crisis on their hand already in terms of not being able to get people to and from where they need to go. It's traffic everywhere. And so when they first went out to the voters about getting transportation funding, it didn't pass. And it was because people didn't think it was going to really make a difference. But when they went bolder, they went bigger, then they did get their proposition passed because they then said, my quality of life will change. And that is my belief, is that we've got to think more boldly and bigger about the potential solutions that we can have here. I mean, we talked about getting, monorail here in the 80s, and we're still, looking at, drafts from back then of what it would have looked like. And we've not made the progress in our region. So connecting major hubs like Dallas and Houston, critically important. But I also would go further to say we need to connect Houston in different ways using multimodal transit options, grade separated. So it does you no good to sit next to the train in traffic, right? You don't
Lord,
need to do that. And that's where we are, because we've compromised in a way that I don't think resulted in the full optimization of our ability to push forward transportation.
To do any of this, there has to be an election.
Yeah.
The governor has put this off till November.
Yes.
Your thoughts and feelings about going that long without representation for this community?
800,000 people. I just keep going back to that number. Think about that. That's a city, a size of a city.
A big city.
Yeah. 800,000 people, the assets I mentioned previously, no representation, no federal advocate, no vote. None of those things are happening right now for those individuals. Now, gratefully, they are able to call into the office because staff still exists, still remains in place. And so you have the ability to advocate in some ways for constituent issues. But it's, the passport issue or this.
Quick question.
Yes.
What do you think about Paxton entering the race?
Let me just say this.
Okay.
Let me say this about that.
I did not expect that. I mean, given his history in terms of his role and the challenges and the controversy that he has faced, I was not expecting him then to say, I want to ascend to higher office. So that was not something I was expecting to happen and come across my newsfeed.
Hey, how can we find out more about you and your positions? Do you have a website?
Absolutely. EdwardsForHouston.com is my website. I'm also on social media, Blue Sky, Twitter as AK Edwards TX. I'm on Facebook, Amanda K. Edwards TX, and on Instagram, Amanda K. Edwards TX. And my team would kill me if I didn't say TikTok as well, Amanda K. Edwards TX.
Thank you for coming
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you for having
Honorable
me.
Amanda Edwards is running for the 18th Congressional District seat. She was previously a council member on Houston City Council. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me.